Tax hikes are coming in the October budget. That's what Labour have in store for us. You'd think with a new government there'd be a little bit of honeymoon period and feel-good factor, but no. Our new leaders, Keir Starmer and Rachel Thieves, want to pick our pockets, and they want to pick our pockets big time. In this video, I'll be sharing with you exactly what tax hikes are likely and how they're going to affect us in property and business. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon. We put out 3 videos each and every week, all dedicated to keeping you on top of your property investing game. Now, the new government has come in and they first of all claim that there's a black hole in the government finances, some 22 billion that the Tories somehow hid.
It's not the state's money, it's your money.
Well, this is all hogwash. We have the Office of Budget Responsibility. You know, the Shadow Chancellor has access to all the figures months in advance. That's the whole point of having a Shadow Chancellor. So she knew everything about the public finances. In fact, I've just done a little bit of totting up, and it seems that this black hole has been created in the first few weeks of this Labour regime. We've had 3 billion that's gone to Ukraine. We've had 8.6 billion for GB Energy Quango, which is not actually going to produce a kilowatt of energy themselves. We got 11.6 billion, which Ed Miliband has announced for foreign climate aid, whatever that is. We got 10 billion for public sector wage increases, and we got 100 million, of course, so those ASLEF train drivers can earn 85 grand a week starting and stopping a train. You know, train driving has got easier in the last few years, of course. And several years ago, they used to have to control the doors. They used to have to open them and shut them. Now they don't have to do those. They just do the start-stop and it runs on a track. Bus driving is far more complicated, yet those guys get paid third. But anyway, never mind that. The ultra-rich in a few years' time are going to be ASLEF train drivers.
If you've got the opportunity to apply to become a driver, then do it, is my advice.
What's in store for us lot? Well, first of all, let me say they're leaking a lot of stuff. A lot of what they are wanting to do is being leaked in the media. Now, why is that? Well, I think they're flying a kite. They're seeing what resistance, what pushback there is from the public to these proposals. So what we need to do is make our voices heard, and we need to push back on some of the crazy proposals that they've got in store. If you just look at the recent news on the winter fuel allowance proposals, you know, 500,000 people have signed a petition online saying that, you know, the government should U-turn on this. And that's basically what they're doing. They're kite-flying proposals and in the media and seeing what the resistance is. So what do we need to stand up to? Well, first of all, there's this crazy proposal of aligning capital gains tax rates with income tax rates. Now, I've done a whole video on why that policy alone is absolutely crazy. Income tax is completely different to capital gains. Capital is about putting your capital at risk, is exactly that. You can get zero or you can get something. And if you're going to tax the hell out of it, then you're going to make it not worthwhile for investors to take that risk, entrepreneurial risk in the first place. There's going to be another raid on private pension pots. And this, I feel, is fundamentally unfair. Now, when you are planning your pension arrangements, you're taking decisions that are going to affect you in decades' time. So it's this long-term financial planning, whatever you do with your pension. And what you can't do is tinker with it every few years. Because how can you make a plan over decades when government are going to come in and just basically raid your pension pot as and when they want? And I'm exceptionally surprised that the pushback on the raid on pension pots hasn't been as much as the pushback on the winter fuel allowance. But one thing they want to do is when you hit 55 years old, you can actually draw out 25% of your pension pot tax-free. They're proposing to do away with that in the October budget. And also they're talking about reducing the amount you can contribute tax-free into the pension. Now, tax-free contributions into a pension is a little bit of a misnomer. Because yes, your contributions into a pension are tax-free, and you build up whatever you invest in tax-free. But when you draw your pension out, you pay tax on that. So the tax is got back sooner or later. It just means that you aren't dependent on the state for your welfare in your later years. Now, a biggie for all of us in property is going to be changes with council tax. Now, that is going to go up, 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 up. What we fear most is some linkage to property value, which is ludicrous if you think about it. I mean, it doesn't matter whether your house value is £2 million or 100 grand. It costs the same to pay a binman to empty your bin and spill the rubbish on your step once every fortnight. And of course, people with second homes will be clobbered, and also HMOs, houses in multiple occupation. Now, last year, of course, you would know from some of my videos that we put out back then, HMO landlords won a major victory against the government because the government were looking to introduce council tax band A on each HMO room. This would have given HMO landlords a massive administrative burden and extra tax being paid in void periods and the like. So that was ruled against, basically one council tax payment per HMO house. But rest assured, there could be something coming which is going to add further costs to those HMO landlords who are paying the council tax on the whole property. I think one of the big things the government needs to think about is what will happen to HMOs in high value areas. Now, HMOs in high value areas are often owned by people who have had them for a long time. They bought them when the house price was cheap, they converted it into an HMO and they've had it for 10, 12 years and the like. So if you've got, say, an £800,000, £900,000 house and it happens to be an HMO because you've had it a long time, and they impose a council tax rate based on the property value, then those landlords are simply going to sell up because it's uneconomic to do. Now, of course, in high value areas, the figures don't work for new investors to come in and do HMOs there. So that will mean that the HMO housing stock will just disappear from high value areas as landlords say, look, it's not worth us doing, we're going to withdraw from the market. And of course, this lot haven't thought about that. Expect to be clobbered on stamp duty and land tax. Now, there will be some breaks for first-time buyers, and of course people at the bottom rung buying houses up north probably will be stamp duty exempt. But if you are a second-time buyer, particularly if you're in the southeast, you are going to be clobbered. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are further increases on second homes in terms of SDLT, and also buy-to-let purchases in limited companies as well. Again, I reiterate that the government are putting feelers out on all these measures at the moment, and they're seeing what the resistance levels are. So resist, resist, resist. If you're liking this video, don't forget to smash that like button. What do you fear most from Labour's imminent tax hikes? Is there anything that I haven't covered in this video? Do let me know in the comments below. Now, there are also these murmurings of wealth taxes or property taxes, as I've talked about with council tax based on the value of people's homes. When we talk about rejigging council tax to be based on the value of people's homes, an annual charge based on the value of people's homes, that's basically a wealth tax or a property tax in other countries. And that's the thing people do. You know, when they want to introduce a new tax, they say, oh, but they do it here, they do it there, so why can't we do it here? Well, let's take the USA, for example. In Florida, they have a 0.8% taxation rate based on the value of your home. It's a property tax, annual property tax. The value of your home is assessed each and every year, but they do that. But where they have things like these wealth taxes or property taxes, let's look at some of the other benefits that they have that we don't. It's okay to say, well, they do this here, so why don't we have it here? Why don't we have other things that they have over there? For example, yes, in Florida, I would pay a 0.8% tax. But did you also know that in the US of A, they have a mortgage interest tax deduction from the interest that you pay if it's your own principal main home. So up to the value of £750,000, there is mortgage interest deductibility. Now, we actually had a similar thing up until 1989 when it was removed. Now, another thing the lefties fail to mention when saying, oh, well, they have these taxes in America. I mean, they don't mention the personal rates of taxation are completely different there. I've got a little table, I'm not going to go through it, But the long and short of it is, in the UK, if you're earning more than 50k-ish, then you're at the 40% marginal rate. In the US of A, it is 37% marginal rate over $578,000 of personal income a year. So that's a completely different equation. And it's also completely different when you look at doing buy-to-let, for example. So potentially if you've got HMOs and there's some kind of property tax, it's based on property value. Okay, that's what they have in the US of A. But what they have in the US of A is they have a depreciation allowance. And that's because you will know when you do a brand new HMO, it's all brand spanking new for the first few tenants, but over time that property suffers wear and tear. It suffers depreciation. In the US of A, you can claim that depreciation each and every year against your tax bill. In the UK, we used to have a 10% wear and tear allowance, but that was removed a few years ago. What I'm saying is Labour, in their lefty wisdom, may be inspired to bring about some kind of wealth tax or property-related tax, thinking they do this here, they do that there. But what they're not doing is look at other countries' taxation systems from a holistic point of view and look at the other benefits, if you like, that they provide to those people. I think right now in the world there's so many lefty governments around the place that there's plenty of sources of inspiration for new and wonderful taxes which Rachel Thieves can dream up for us here in the UK. Like, for example, over in Canada, they've just brought in an underused housing tax. So this is a 1% annual federal tax on underused housing, not just for empty homes, but also for what they deem as underused housing, whatever that means, and determined by whom? Who's going to come round and determine that, well, you know what, you can have a couple of bunk beds in your lounge, you're not using your house to its full potential. Now in Canada, this particular ruling is aimed at foreign nationals who own Canadian property, but also owners of Canadian properties who own them in limited companies and trusts and stuff like that. And perhaps Rachel Thieves doesn't have to stop at taxing us humans. In fact, over in Denmark, they're introducing a tax for farting cows. Yes, you heard it right. A flatulence tax on farting cows over in Denmark. They're proud to be the first country in the world to impose such a CO2 tax on farmers who pay per farting cow they have on their farm, I guess. A Denmark government official proudly boasted, "We will be the first country in the world to introduce a real CO2 tax on agriculture. Other countries will be inspired by this." Well, I guess as long as Rachel Reeves doesn't propose to bring the fart tax to humans, we should be okay. But the craziest tax of them all is already here in the UK. Over in North Korea, they get their state propaganda on TV for free. But in the UK, of course, we have to pay for it. A tax for the BBC licence fee. So tell me what you think about some of the crazy taxes Rachel Thieves is proposing, and which ones do you most oppose? And have I missed something out which you think Rachel Reeves are going to sneak into this October budget? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video. See you guys next time. The Baker Street Property Meet is the UK's largest and #1 property investors networking event. The property market is going through monumental change right now, and at Baker Street Property Meet we aim to keep you up to date with the latest tips and tricks and insider tactics to help you keep on top of your property investing game and succeed in these troubled economic times. The Baker Street Property Meet is fundamentally about networking, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And at Baker Street, we aim to connect you with the people to make your property journey a monumental success. There's no better place to be to further your property investment journey than the Baker Street Property Meet. So make sure you're here, you're connecting with myself and Andrew Roberts, our expert guest speakers, and 300 passionate property people each and every month. See you at the next meet. Get your spot at bakerstreetpropertymeet.com.